Clash. I want to give you some notes on that so you know what you're watching, if I can. And I think I want to start by telling you that it's important to note that as a part of Jubal Early, the Confederate general, a part of his original battle plan, the Confederate cavalry, led by General Thomas Rosser, was sent to the back road to attack General Torbert's U.S. or federal cavalry. And I need for you to look at the mountain off in my front, in your front, if you're here at the spectator line, and you see that mountain range back there. That is Little North Mountain. The back road runs fairly close to Little North Mountain. There is a middle road that is in between that. And then are of course, connecting roads from the Valley Pike in your back, which is US 11, the original old Valley Pike. So if you look west, beyond the buildings that you see over here, you will find, and you can't see that, about where the green tree line is going to be the middle road. Another mile or whatever beyond that is what we call the back road. The Federal cavalry was camped on the north bank of Cedar Creek, which runs just about out over where these buildings are out in my front. Cedar Creek makes a lot of loops and bends, but out there the Federal cavalry was camped on the north bank of Cedar Creek, and of course camped there because that's the place you can water your animals and feed them and whatnot. The Early's battle plan directed that Thomas Rosser attack that Federal cavalry. Now that was a very unbalanced and unfair fight from the very beginning. It was what I would call a very daunting task for the Confederate cavalry. But their job in the overall battle plan, the important task that they really had, was to keep the Federal cavalry, which is about 5,000 guys, well mounted, superbly equipped. Their main job was to keep those 5,000 Federal cavalry from joining in this fight that would be the infantry fight here along the Valley Pike. So if they could keep Torbert's cavalry back there, keep them occupied, that cavalry, the Federal cavalry, could not participate in what was going on over here on the pike. And as I say, a very daunting task. The entire CSA cavalry that was available to Early in 1864 at this time in the Valley Army was in two divisions. They were led by General Thomas L. Rosser and another General Lunsford L. Lomax. In total, their numbers are less than 3,000 troopers. They were somewhat poorly equipped and with very much what I would call worn out horses. By 1864, the ability to feed, care for animals was limited in the Valley of Virginia by that time. And we are also just beyond the time that we call the burning in the valley. And Sheridan has retreated. It's really not a retreat, it's a strategic withdrawal. Sheridan has withdrawn from Harrisonburg, and as he moved north to his camp here at Cedar Creek, he has destroyed everything in the valley. Run off all the livestock, burned all the barns, destroyed the mills, did all of that. So it is hard to find forage for the horses, and so the Confederate cavalry has a really tough task. And what's worse, Lomax's division, about one half of the total that I told you a minute ago, is at Front Royal, which is about 10 miles east of here. And that would be behind your back and a little bit south. Almost at the end, if you look at the end of Massett Mountain, where the end comes down back there, it would be just beyond that. They're expecting to join this infantry fight later in the area of Middletown or Stevens City. And their job will be to pursue the retreating Federal infantry. So Rosser only has 1,300 guys to attack 5,000 well-mounted troopers. But as I say, he was not expected to drive the Federal cavalry away, but really to keep them occupied so they couldn't join in this fight over here on the pike. Lomax's division had about 1,700 men, leaving Rosser with only about 1,300. It's not expected that Rosser can win the fight, but it is his mission to hold them at bay and prevent them from aiding in the infantry pike along the Valley Pike. Now Rosser will use his 1,300 men against 2 full divisions of Federal horse commanded by Brigadier Generals Wesley Merritt and George A. Custer, a name probably familiar to you. Those 2 guys together in 2 divisions contained about 5,000 well-mounted and superbly equipped troopers. And when I say well-equipped, I mean that the Federal troops were carrying 7-shot repeating carbines, Colt revolvers, and sabers. So they were, as one fellow told me earlier today, they are the most well-armed group in the entire army on either side. They carry more weapons than anybody else. Many of the rebels often had only single-shot rifles, sometimes had to dismount to load them, which would be a terrible thing to have to do. And many of the rebels were without either sabers or revolvers. So they probably only had one weapon and maybe a single-shot carbine or a single-shot rifle and a saber. They might have those too, but not likely to be equipped with all 3 and all of that. And also remember that only 10 days ago, Rosser and Lomax's cavalry had been driven from the field at the Battle of Tom's Brook. And that was a Confederate disaster there. And that occurred during what we call near the end of the burning, called the burning. And that is where finally Sheridan had enough of the Confederate horsemen looking at the burners as they were coming north. And he said, I want you to turn around and you either whip the Confederate cavalry or get whipped yourself. That's your job. And they did indeed attack, Custer on the back road and Merritt on the pike. Merritt and the Battle of Tom's Brook started right in the middle of Tom's Brook and at about what we call Mount Olive on the back road. And in short order, the Confederate cavalry were driven from the field, losing 11 of 12 guns, losing all their wagon forges, the ability to remake horseshoes, a whole lot of loss at Tom's Brook. And so that cavalry that is going to show up here is decidedly inferior, if you will, in equipment and in horse flesh to the Federal cavalry, and way outnumbered. I mean, 1,300 against 5,000. The other thing about this is Early distrusted the cavalry. Early didn't really like cavalry. It's been said that Early thought, cavalry is to carry messages and do things like that, but not a fighting force much. His cavalry, in his opinion, his cavalry had let him down at 3rd Winchester, again at Fisher's Hill, and then again at Tom's Brook. That is not necessarily completely true, however, though that was an excuse that he provided, not necessarily true. For instance, at Fisher's Hill, when Sheridan's attempt to outflank the infantry, the Confederate infantry retreat, the mission was to send Federal cavalry through the Luray Valley, which is further east from Front Royal, and to march them south, get them beyond the retreating Federals at Newmarket, where they could cross back into the valley, and then That's an extra. He's doing a good job. Sound. Can you hear what's going on here? Okay. Okay. Anyhow, the Confederate cavalry occupied the Luray Valley, Early being wise to that, and they were able to save Early's retreating army. Had it not been for the Confederate cavalry, the entire Federal cavalry would have been on the Valley Pike south of Early's infantry, and it was a matter of just capturing them, putting them in prison, and off we go. And the war would, or the at least conflict in the valley, have been somewhat ended by that time. So Early wasn't totally fair by having no trust of his cavalry, but I mean, it's fair to say that he did not respect, as he should have, the efforts of his Confederate cavalry. But in spite of the overwhelming odds, in spite of the equipment that they suffered with, if you call it that, and in spite of the horse flesh being worn down, Rosser will make a try. He will make a try to do what Early had requested him to do. So Rosser and of course this all happens on October the 19th, 1864. Rosser has moved his attack force to a place called Cupp's Ford, or Cupp's Mill, whichever you want to call it. They're both at the same place. It's a low water ford across Cedar Creek. If you look at that yellow colored silo out there, way out there toward the mountain, it would be almost in that direction, but another couple of miles further west toward the mountain. And that's because that's where Merritt's cavalry camp was. He gets there about 4:30 in the morning. It's dark and it's foggy, and you've heard about the fog already. You'll hear some more about it later. It's dark and it is 4:30 in the morning. That's probably an hour and a half before real good sunlight. And so these guys are there ready. The force was led by Brigadier General Williams Wickham. It's hard to believe that somebody has a first name called Williams with a plural, with an S, but that's his name. Brigadier General Williams Wickham's brigade with the 3rd Virginia Cavalry. 3rd Virginia Cavalry comes from the, what we call the Virginia Beach area, Hampton Roads, Norfolk, down east. The 3rd Virginia Cavalry is in the lead, and they succeed early in the day, just after 4:30, in driving the Federal pickets from the, and the pickets were from the 7th Michigan Cavalry, Wesley Merritt's division. And they succeed driving these guys from the Creek Crossing. Rosser's men drive the Federal pickets from their camp and enter the camp and stop there. They actually dismount and feed their horses and themselves. They note, by the way, a trooper, Confederate, notes that there was plenty of food for them there, and they hadn't had much in the recent past, and plenty of food for their horses. So the deal was, instead of pursuing and or attacking Merritt's main force, they stopped in this camp and are leisurely feeding themselves and their horses. In the meantime, Torbert, the Alfred T.A. Torbert, has sent Merritt's division toward the pike, which means Merritt's guys have pretty much evacuated that camp and it's available to these Confederates. And the ability that he had to send Merritt's guys toward the pike is exactly what Rosser was intending to prevent. But Merritt was detached and sent toward the pike. During their service on the pike, the leader of Merritt's brigade is mortally wounded. That guy is Charles Russell Lowell. And if you drive a little bit south on the pike, enter Middletown, you'll see the Wayside Inn on your right. You'll note there's I call them near here signs, but near here it talks about the wounding and finally the death of of Charles Russell Lowell. And there's also a memorial gravestone or a monument there in the front as you enter the Wayside Inn. Custer's division, which had also been involved in the fray along the pike, has been ordered back to the right, to Sheridan's right, which is out toward the mountain, by about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, where they continue to operate on the federal right as Sheridan's routed army is beginning to reform. So the morning's events, which we'll talk about later when we have the main reenactment, the main events have transpired, and Custer, there not being much Confederate activity on the back road with the cavalry, Custer is able to help over here on the pike, as is Merritt over here on the pike. So there's plenty of federal cavalry working on the pike, which is against what Early's plan desired. As Custer goes back to the right, he notices the Confederate presence there on the pike. And he sends Colonel Alexander Pennington's 1st Brigade of Custer's division back to retrieve. That 1st Brigade contained the 3rd Indiana Cavalry, the 1st New Hampshire Cavalry, the 8th New York Cavalry, the 22nd New York Cavalry, and the 1st Vermont Cavalry. Custer immediately orders Pennington's cavalry brigade, together with Charles Pierce's batteries B and L of the Federal artillery, to drive the Confederates away. This action is what the horsemen are going to depict for you today in just a very few minutes.
Sure.
They should open this fight off to my right or off toward the northwest. They should open this fight very shortly.
Hello. Yeah, what are you doing?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
We're getting ready to watch the horse. The horse probably had that crap.
Testing 1, 2.
Yeah, you know, it's pretty real. That's what it's on it.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Back up. 1, 2.
The horse is yeah, the horse is Then we're going to watch the people that are boss.
fact that you're here. The fact that you're here, right?
I don't remember them doing this last time.
Yeah. Well, they do different ones. Something must be up. Something must be off. Down there. And we'll move up this way.
Down there by the road?
Yeah.
That guy's gonna get ran over if the horse comes down. He's gonna drown. No, here comes the horse up there.
All right, I'll make an announcement. I have a young man that's approached me here at the speaker stand who has found a pair of glasses. If you have lost a pair of glasses in a slim black case, slip over here and you'll be rewarded with your glasses back.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, folks, the action is just about ready to begin, and what will happen is Pierce's guns will fire into what was the Confederates resting in the federal camp, and the federal guys, the Confederate guys are, as we said, dismounted, feeding themselves and their horses, and generally having a good old time. And as Pierce's battery drops these shells in the camp, those guys are scrambling for their horses, mounting up, and figuring on a way to get out of Dodge, as we say. The rebels will be scrambling for their horses, and they'll only briefly put up a fight, and they will hastily retire back in some confusion across Cups Ford, way back on the back road. Just about, I would say, 1.5 miles, 2 miles due west of where we are right at the moment.
Testing 1 2, mic 3, back up.
Okay, that's Pennington's guys and Pierce's battery firing into the Confederate camps, and the Confederates now rush, gather their horses, and get mounted. And then, of course, Pennington's actually going to send 2 regiments, the 2nd Ohio and the 2nd New York, and they will charge these Confederates, which are in Merritt's camp on the north bank of Cedar Creek, and they will then drive them back across the creek, and the Confederates will retire somewhat in confusion. So you'll watch this infantry fight, or I'm sorry, watch this cavalry fight take place as it goes here. By name, if you happen to be reading data on the Battle of Cedar Creek, this demonstration is to reproduce what is called the fight at Heights Chapel, H-I-T-E'(S), Heights Chapel. One other thing they asked me to point out to you is that when you think about the Battle of Cedar Creek, October 19, 1864, if you really think of all the actions that occurred, we're talking about this cavalry action being way back away from where we are on the back road. The Cedar Creek Battlefield is about 16 square miles, which is a lot of territory. And it's very hard to reenact a 16 square mile battle on 150 acres of land. But that's what we do here today. So they're depicting a scene that occurred way back beyond the green tree line that you see out to your front toward the blue mountains, which again are Little North Mountain there to the west.
Well, where did you go?
Buying some kind of pretzel, cheese, stuffed pretzels. Well, truck.
Everything's all right, right?
You can see that even on our field here, the Confederate force is outnumbered. So here comes the Federals onto the field.
One thing that takes it out there's a few other things.
Remember that the two forces you see on the field today are depicting on the right 5,000 members on the right, on the left about 1,300 total. So it is a depiction, not necessarily the real size, but as Patrick, the director here at Cedar Creek, informed me a while ago, it's hard to do a 16 square mile battle on 157 acres of ground out in front of you.
Oh, see, I didn't even check it.
It's great to see a nice crowd out here today. And the crowd was slim this morning early, but we had an excellent artillery demonstration and a nice crowd here for the cavalry fight. And I hope everyone sticks around, and we'll do the first phase, what we call the first phase of the infantry fight at Cedar Creek will take place just a little bit later. If I look at my schedule, I find that to be 2 o'clock. So beginning at 2 o'clock, off to your left where the tents, where you see the tents, off to your left, it'll begin there and come across the field in front of you. So if you've got a good spot here, you're in the right spot. And but this demonstration will end about 2:30, something like that. 2 o'clock. I'm sorry, 2 o'clock. You'll and the regular battle will start up right away. So be advised, don't lose your place. I know it's tempting to go get a coat, but don't lose your place. A couple of things you should do while you're here at Cedar Creek. You should visit the Cedar Creek Battlefield Foundation's headquarters down on the Valley Pike, a little bit south of here, and on the left side or east side of the pike. There's an excellent museum there. There are items for sale, books, souvenirs, and a lot of information. They're well staffed and a very good collection of articles to take a look at there. You'll find a list of sponsors in your program. If you have a program of the day's events, today's events, and tomorrow's events, you'll find a list of sponsors in there. We encourage you to benefit them if you can.
So I think everyone is one of the same. Because, you have one release the other. The aircraft, when it's sitting on the ground, they get out. But when it's moving,
Don't need to stand there.
Okay, I have a request to announce, would Cynthia Lovin come back to the lemonade stand, the white lemonade stand where she left her bit card. If you don't come back there, we'll auction that off after a while or something. No, please come back and claim your card. Now they're into the thick of the fight up here on my right and your right to the north of the main gate. And the two sides are clashing with sabers, and they would have used sabers, bowie knives, carbines, and revolvers. Many of the cavalrymen often carried several cylinders for their revolvers, and they would simply switch a new cylinder in and be ready to shoot 6 more times. Here comes the Federals. That's a good cavalry display.
He lives in the Baldwin Park.
So yeah, but Baldwin lived, and obviously the daughter of the Pikes lived in that house right there while our house was being built. So then they in 26 with his son, he left that and went on. But it was
Right here? Where is it? Like,
no, it's about as a crow flies about a mile. Over by Richards.
that is so cool. So you live in an 1826. That is so
There
cool.
was a hospital there in the spot too.
Oh, it was a hospital? I'm sure everything was.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Union 1904 returned all the
Here's another charge. The Federal Cavalry will eventually force the Confederates back across the ford, and for all intents and purposes, the Confederate portion of the cavalry fight will end with this action. The Confederate cavalry will never get back, or will never come over to the Valley Pike and participate in the balance of the day's activities, the infantry fight here on the pike. So it is very important to realize that Rosser's mission was to keep the Federal cavalry back on the back road. They failed to do that, but also the Confederate cavalry was of no use in the Confederate effort, which was easily first successful along the pike. Now the Lomax's troopers, there's 1,700 in that group that we talked about that were left at Front Royal. Their mission was to drive from Front Royal up the Front Royal Winchester Road, turn left at Cedarville, cross the Cedarville Road to Middletown, and intercept the Federal retreat. They also failed in that mission. So the Confederate cavalry, though Early talked about that, and that he was suspect of his cavalry. Indeed, today they were not able to carry their weight or the proposed plan of battle that had been ordered to them.
Here's ours.
Here they come again.
That's perfect. I'm going to send up to Katie and do that.
But it kind of is disputed that tangentially, because they don't even recognize what the correct definition is. You know, and that's really the hard thing. If they recognize that, this means that they're all unique.
And again, the CSA loses a little bit of ground, but they live to fight again. You see the Union infantry advancing down in the hollow as well. You can imagine just how hard this affair was on the horses. And these are horses that have been used continuously in the campaign that began back in August. And these horses are at this every day, and that's a lot of exercise for a horse. So you can imagine the shape that the horses had to be in to carry this out. The Confederates will rally again. Here they come. The Confederates have formed a new line, and the Federals advance. Get your cameras ready.
Sorry, 2 seconds. Hold on, 2 seconds. Sorry. To be fair, I was up at 5:30 in the morning.
And the Confederates form another new line, defensive line. Pretty soon they're going to be retreating across the ford, back to where they came from. There they'll spend the rest of the day.
Honestly, I wrote that shit early on. I think the way you're talking about it, if you cut it out, so long as there's the clear discussion, at least in the terminology shown.
Once again, I want to remind everyone that's viewing this that these reenactors out here have spent a lot of money to put this on for you, and they are the principal reason that Cedar Creek has saved this portion of the battlefield, this and other portions that they've saved. These guys have contributed heavily to the preservation efforts here in the area between Strasburg and Middletown at the Battle of Cedar Creek. There are numerous other parcels that have been preserved. And now we have the new, what they call the National Park, the Cedar Creek Bell Grove National Park. So a lot of this is due to their efforts, and they've contributed over the years. These reenactments have taken place for many years, and these guys have always been faithful competitors here.